Oh, thank you, Robin. Okay, this is the select board meeting for Monday, February 8th. All meetings of the select board are recorded, and pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the select board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Office of the AG's webpage. The town will persevere to use conference call capabilities regularly for other parties to listen in and participate accordingly. If not possible, we will post on the town's website an audio recording as soon as possible after the meeting. And this meeting is being handled on Zoom, and I think all three selectmen are remote this evening, correct? Correct. So with that, why don't we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance first? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I already called the roll. We already did the Pledge of Allegiance. And at this time, we'll open up the floor for public comment. Does anybody have anything that's not on the agenda that they would like to address to the Board of Selectmen at this time? Okay, big crowd tonight. All right. So first order of business, because we're a little bit on time, we acknowledge payables warrant number 2118 dated February 2nd in the amount of $230,042.89. And I need a motion for the open and executive session minutes of February 1st last week.
Joe Didi will make that motion.
Russ Fox will second.
Roll call vote. Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Great. Okay. And do we have, oh, I see Mr. Newman is here. Okay. Mr. Newman and Mr. Gerard, I am going to put you in the lobby for a moment while we discuss how we're going to approach this, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. So we are supposed to have a discussion / interviews tonight with two firefighter EMTs. Both are at the end of their process for becoming a medic, correct, Deputy?
Just for clarification, Mike Newman is a paramedic. He's completed his testing. And then Josh Gerard is very close to finishing. He is currently doing his ride time. Would have a capstone test to complete and then certification exams after that.
Okay.
But his anticipation is by the end of March to have all of that complete.
So I put them in the waiting room because Josh has sat for these for this drill once before, and I want to put it to the other two to see if we want to go through the interview questions tonight, or just have a discussion, or whatever is your pleasure.
So how far are we with Josh? You think he'll be all done and in by the end of March, Rick?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, based on what he's told me, the time that he's committed to his ride time, the pace at which he's been completing everything, and also the availability of testing, I would say that the end of March, the first week of April is a realistic date for him. The only outlier out there that he has no control over would be the actual exam date.
Right. So I can hold your feet to the fire by April 30th?
If you'd like to, yes. I'm willing to let that happen.
Yeah, I'm giving you room. I'm serious.
No,
Just,
and so am I. In all seriousness, I believe he will complete everything as planned. And the only outlier that would be beyond our control again is the examination dates.
yeah, understood.
And they've been few and far between, unfortunately, with most of them happening in Nashua, New Hampshire. So thank goodness for them, because otherwise the state would be lagging way behind, which is another component of, making it more and more difficult to get paramedics up and running, is the actual final exam for them.
And I'm comfortable if everything's done, I'm comfortable. I get the test part. I understand, as long as everything else is in order. I just don't want it to prolong, and I don't want the drama that comes with it. You don't either. You want it done.
No.
We're on the same page.
Josh has worked very hard to get everything where it needs to be. He's very focused. He's dedicated a lot of independent time towards getting certified, completing the clinical times, the ride time that's going on right now. He
Yep.
has ride time scheduled. He's working with some good agencies that he enjoyed working with. So that's a plus for everybody involved. It just makes it that much easier for you to complete everything.
Okay, that's all I had.
Mr. Fox?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy just to have a discussion. We've been through the interview process numerous times, and just a little background information would be fine with me.
So I put them both in the waiting room. We can bring them both back in, or we can bring them in one at a time, or we can do whatever you'd like to do.
I think one at a time.
Okay? You want to bring, which one's first? Any preference?
Josh,
That's your preference?
But
Josh
Josh was
first.
scheduled.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
I go first. Okay.
With any luck at all, this is happening right this second. Let's see. Josh, your dog is barking.
And Mr. Fox nervous.
Yeah, I think I heard the olive right after the bark, so I think we know where it came from. It's all good.
Does somebody have a suit of armor?
Stop. It's not that kind of dog. All right. So Josh, you went through the whole interview process before, so we're not going to torture you with the questions. We're just going to torture you differently tonight.
Sounds good.
So we're going to open the floor for a discussion, and I'll let any of the Russ or Joe fire away.
All right, Josh, I may as well go first and get it over with. So since your family comes from the firefighter background, right, that world, what standard do you hold yourself to? Because all that package comes with you, right? I mean, you're coming down a list of firefighters amongst your families. So what standard, realistically, do you feel you should hold yourself to a much, much higher standard than everyone else in that department? Because honestly, everyone has to look at you, right, and beat you down either way. It's just the way it's going to work. You get it. You're a kid. You understand. So tell me what you think you're going to do to really above and beyond, and by accident, right? It sucks, but it's what it is.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. I've kind of, grown up with a fire chief as a father. You are held to a different standard, and I've come to accept that, and that's really the standard that I hold myself to is, what other people might, aim for, I have to aim for a little bit higher, mostly because, everybody's going to think that it was given to you, that you didn't really earn anything. So I do have to take the extra steps and the extra motivation to prove that I do belong, and that I've earned where I've gotten, and it wasn't handouts along the way.
Okay. Because I want to hold your feet to the fire. You know that.
Oh, absolutely.
Along with the guy next to you on this Brady Bunch picture, but both of you. That's all I got.
Russell?
Josh, we've heard from the deputy fire chief, but where do you think you are in this process of becoming a paramedic?
I'm nearing the end. Right now I just have to finish up my ride time, and then I'll be right into testing, and then, hopefully I'll be going into my 30 calls and then working alongside Steven and Ian and the deputy and everybody else. You know, I'm hoping not that far, a couple months, maybe not even.
Studying for the test.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, Josh, from what you said, I think rings really important to me. I mean, part of the reason we've been very deliberate with this process and didn't go outside the process till now, and I know I've had conversations with the deputy on this, and discussions with yourself, right, is I think the appearances are important. It's for you and it's for everyone else too. I think, you know, people know you, and I want you to be out there and to be great at what you do. And I want you to be accomplished based on who you are, right? And you know, what in your body of work. And so that's why we were very deliberate through this whole process, right? And we didn't shortcut it. You've put the work in, and we were upfront with you, and you've done everything we've asked of you. And I think it's fair for us to do what we said we would do. And we were very public through that whole process. So, you know, first of all, kudos to you for finishing and doing what you said, right? I
Thank
know in my discussions with the deputy, you know, in the very early part of me getting knowledge on this whole medic thing was, okay, you know, what percentage of people that go off to medic school come out of medic school, you know, passing and becoming a medic? And it's not 100%, it's not 80%, it's probably, you know, somewhere around half, right? So it's not a foregone conclusion that you just put someone and send them off to medic school and, you know, you mail them off and a year later you get back a medic, right? There's a lot of hard work and a lot of stuff that goes into that. Obviously you still have to finish, and we're gonna, as Joe said, hold your feet to the proverbial fire on that. But, you know, I think it's important. I think it's important that, you know, we've done what we said we would do if you did what you said you were gonna do. So here we kind of are. And I'll just leave it at that. And like I said, I think it's important this way, you know, you did the process the way it's supposed to be. You followed the process that everyone set out for you to do, just like anyone else had shown up at the fire department and said, hi, I want to be a medic one day, or I'd like to join the Southwick Fire Department as a medic. And we said, okay, here's what you got to do. You went and did it, right? So here, you know, here we are. So does anyone have anything else for Mr. Gerard at this time?
Nope.
Okay. What's the process, Mr. Coral? Or should we have Mr. Newman come in now?
Yeah, you should go to the next candidate, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Newman, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
There you are. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Welcome. We kind of decided a little earlier that we're not going to really, since there's one of the candidates we're very familiar with and we've known him a while, and we're not going to go through the regular, here's 5 questions that we're going to ask you and get the answer from those 5 questions from the both of you. So we're just going to kind of have an open discussion, and then we're going to go from there, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good.
So, and then we'll obviously give you time to say whatever you'd like to say. So, Joseph?
Michael, speak up so we can hear you, okay? Get a little
Yes,
closer
sir.
to that thing. There you go. Straight up, back, nice and straight. All right, you got 5 minutes to tell me about yourself, where you're from, where you're headed, what I need to know. Go.
So I'm Mike Newman. I'm from Springfield, born and raised. I work at AMR currently. I just got my paramedic license about a couple days ago. I have not started upgrade yet. My goal is to get on a career fire department. I like to play sports on my free time. I'm into a lot of outdoor activity, fishing, biking, hiking. And that's about all. Grew up in Springfield, moved to Washington State. I lived over in Washington State for 3 years. That's all I got for you.
All right, so unfortunately or fortunately, this isn't you, but I gotta say this. You can pass a drug test, right? Because we had some other applicants that were great guys and interviewed very well, and then shit happens. So just so you're aware, there's a drug test involved. You're good with that?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. That's all I got. Sorry, guys.
We really should just sell tickets. Honest to God.
I'm sorry, but
We
I don't want to hear
probably
about
pay
it
for
6
another
weeks
ladder.
from now.
We could
know?
probably pay for a ladder truck. Jeez. Mr. Fox, can you follow?
That would be a tough act to follow, Mr. Chairman. Mike, where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years?
So I've been thinking a lot about furthering my education. I want to try and get my respiratory therapy and work as an RT in the hospital along with doing fire full time. But I just finished school and I would like to practice paramedicine until I'm comfortable before I plan on furthering any medical experience.
Do you see Southwick as part of your future, Mike? Or
If I'm selected, I surely hope so. If selected by Southwick, I plan to give it the best run as long as you guys will have me. So,
all right, thank you.
Are you willing to sign a contract to that effect, say 10, 20 years, something like that? Because I'm just kidding, Mike. I'm just kidding. Well, I think that's obviously that's what we're looking for is right. This is a career firefighter medic position, right? Emphasis on the career, right? And it's obviously a challenging business that we're in to get people to come on and stay. And we've got a great department, great leadership, great great equipment. It's a great town. It's talking to some of the guys that are on now and some that are working per diem and stuff. It's like the right volume of calls to keep you busy. And I don't want to use the word entertain because that's never the right word in your business, but keep you busy and keep you practiced and keep you sharp, but still enough time to have downtime and you don't feel like you're, like AMR in Springfield, you bounce off a call to another call to another call and it never stops, right? So I think it's a great place, but and careful that when did you get your card? January 30th? Well, the ink's not even dry yet.
No.
January 30th.
I
Yeah, don't rub your card yet. The ink's still wet.
I got my medic license on Friday, I believe.
Perfect.
I don't even have my paper card yet. It hasn't come in the mail. I was able to get my medic number offline so I can start upgrading.
Fantastic. Well, I think, obviously congratulations on getting your medic. We know we were just talking before you joined that it's not an easy thing to get. It's a lot of hard work and schooling and testing and everything else. And you'll help Josh with his testing that's coming up in less than a couple of weeks, right? Everyone else is committed to making sure that everybody does well. And we've got a couple medics, right, coming through or potential medics coming through the very end of their program, right? We're starting to see this whole thing bear fruit. So with that, Carl, what's the process from here?
I think, Mr. Chairman, you would make a motion to entertain the candidates that you're going to select for a career offer, that they'll have to go for what necessary physicals, if those are needed, and for what other tests that the deputy fire chief determines is necessary through the state human resource department. Because these are career positions, so they may have to also file queries if those aren't on file with us, and the deputy will also make a list of other conditions that are the normal course of operations.
So those are the yada yadas we usually go through.
That's what you call the yada yadas.
Would someone like to make that motion, please?
Joe Didi will make the motion.
For Mr. Josh Gerard and Michael Newman.
Correct.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Michael, was this the hardest interview you've ever been on? Just checking before we go to a vote.
is my first online interview. I will say that.
Fantastic. It's a roll call vote. Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
And once it-
Congratulations, gentlemen.
And it's probation for a year. Is that how that works?
That's
Yes.
correct. So
It's-
for, yep.
It's
probation for
probational,
1 year.
provisional, right? Because Josh still got to pass the test, because in order to meet the qualifications for the job, you got to have the card that Mike's going to get in the mail any minute now.
Well,
But yes, we're getting there.
Good.
correct.
But
So.
congratulations to both of you.
Thank you very much.
It would be, just for clarification, it would be probationary period.
Correct.
For both, for 1 year. And Josh would have, again, the time to get the paramedic is actually a little longer than that, but the probationary period would be the same for both.
Correct.
Very good.
But
So I
Joe's
will-
looking for you in April if he doesn't have
Right.
Yes.
it.
Josh, literally. It's not funny.
No,
He's,
I kid, but Joe doesn't kid.
I
Right?
don't kid.
And
Sorry.
and he knows where you live.
Kind of, but I'll find it.
I do.
All right, and I just have one other item. It's not necessarily on the agenda, but it's something that has been discussed. We do currently have one person working as a provisional for us. The extension for provisional was till February 21st. And I would like to ask the board to make a motion and accept a motion to extend the provisional for one firefighter EMT until June 30th of this year.
And that is,
Shane Hope is a current provisional firefighter.
all right, so I'll make the motion for Shane.
Russ Fox will second it.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Fox, aye.
Thank you for reminding me, Deputy. I almost forgot.
But all right, thank you.
Awesome.
All right. So Josh and Michael, I'll be in touch with both of you very shortly.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations to both of you. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Congratulations. And Mike, I'm going to hold you to that 10-year deal, just so you know. Thank you very much. Okay, discussion items. Notification to town clerk for ballot questions for local elections. If the selectmen have a need to add a ballot question to the local election, the deadline is April 7th. I don't know that, we haven't really discussed anything that's going to require a ballot issue for this annual, correct?
Nope, and that's something that the town clerk routinely submits as a reminder to you this time of year.
Okay,
So
I need a motion to authorize the CAO to finalize the fiscal year 22 Western Hampton District Veterans Service budget.
Joe Didi will make the motion.
Russ Fox will second.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
as you'll see, Mr. Chairman, you have a copy of last year's budget and this year's proposed budget. So I will be attending that meeting in Agawam next week. We are anticipating the executive director will be giving his notice of retirement, and we'll be going through a recruitment process with the other 4 communities along with Southwick that make up the 5 members of that district.
Correct. And I saw it was, this one's the one from last year, right? That was
The
signed. That
minutes
was in
were
our
from
folder.
last year, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, so that'll be next week.
Okay. And then the next is a memo from Randy Brown. Mike Bryant is retiring, and we received one application from A1 Calvin Arnold, who is currently a heavy equipment operator for solid waste. DPW recommends shifting Mr. Arnold into this position.
Yep, that is under the union contract, and he does meet the requirements.
So that's a vote of this board, correct?
Yep. And then separate from that vote is the external heavy equipment operator posting that's out there, that when those candidates come in, Mr. Didi will be involved in those.
So I just have a quick question. Mr. Arnold is already a heavy equipment operator. Why do we need to, Is it?
You're moving, the opening is in the highway division. He is in the solid waste division.
Ah, okay. So, and then I
So
need a
you're-
motion for Mr. Arnold. I get
You're
it.
transferring him to the
To highway from,
internal
oh, I see.
posting.
From solid waste to highway. Got it.
Right.
And Mr. Fox, are you aware, can he run all that equipment? Or do I need to investigate first?
Yeah, Calvin is excellent. So you don't
Okay.
have to investigate him, but
All right.
you know my feeling on any new hires.
I do, but just because you have the licensure, like you said, doesn't mean you know how to work it. And I was informed after that, I could take a gun class and be licensed for a gun. Still does not mean I know how to operate it. Hence why I never took the gun class. Yeah. Okay, great, Mr. Fox. Just wanted to double check with you. So I guess I'll make that motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Arnold. And now they can go ahead and post, right? We don't need to make a vote on that, right? They can just post now that the position is
Well,
vacant,
It
correct?
was already posted, Mr.
Exactly.
It was already posted weeks ago, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Okay. Policy relating to use of sick leave. We have an amended policy that we want to talk about. Carl, do you want to go over the
Yep.
change and the minor
Basically,
change to that policy?
Yep, the input that Labor Council garnered from feedback from bargaining units and other parties. Just wanted to clarify it further by adding another sentence or two on if the exposure is resulting in a quarantine due to a exposure in the workplace as determined through contact tracing. And that ultimately means the town nurse and the health director, not anyone else sub-reporting, self-reporting, just those two people. Then the employee could be on paid leave and would not have to utilize their accumulated leave benefits. And if they're coming back from a vacation where they had to use their vacation time, we also extend that to allow them to use their personal time. So those were the items that Labor Council looked at. You have reviewed them, and this is your meeting to adopt that.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to adopt that amended policy?
Joe Didi will make that motion.
Fox will second.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Okay. So on to, you want to move on to regional dispatch since it's in my folder here? I believe the finance committee met last Tuesday after our meeting on Monday. Robin, you were there. I believe they took a vote to support at least entering into a memorandum of understanding for the statement of interest to go ahead and starting with applications and so on and so forth.
Yes, it was unanimous.
It was unanimous. So I have from the attorney, do we have any further discussion on this before we move forward from the board?
No, I think we're just applying for a grant at this time. So, so that's where I'm comfortable with that. I get the big picture, and I know we've, people are aggravated, but it's just the grant process. And then should that get approved, we're going to cross that next bridge, yay or nay at that time, correct?
Yeah. I mean, Mike, do you have something you want to add or?
Mr. Chairman, if I'm allowed to, I'm really not trying to change the vote or persuade the vote tonight. I understand what you're voting on, and I'm completely, hey, it's logical to look into it. I have been doing some other research. I think you guys got some of the emails that I've been putting together, and I think this is just another option to possibly farm out the EMD and still keep dispatch, but I'm not trying to interject here. Eventually I would like to propose a possible third alternative to you guys when you're ready, and we can go that route to hear that.
Okay.
Will that be
Um,
coming through Mike, would that be coming through the collective bargaining process with Mr. Banish and Attorney Connor?
Well, so this isn't
It has to, that's the legal process for a bargaining unit person.
right. This isn't part of the bargaining process. That's two different things. If we go to Westcom, yeah, we're going to have to do some impact bargaining. That'll be totally separate. All
Right.
this is just, I looked at the problem when it was brought up. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what we have. This is what we're looking at. And I just tried to think outside the box of different ways we could address it possibly that may be better or not for the town. And I'm just trying to get the options out there to say, hey, this is an alternative where if we're working on, we need two people on the radio, even if you go with Westcom, maybe we implement this now and see how it works, because it may actually be zero cost to us, and we might be able to get two dispatchers on an EMD call starting ASAP. So it might help us that way, and we could run this out for however long it takes to go to regional if that's the choice that you guys decide to make.
Okay, then, so if it's not coming through the bargaining unit, then you have to go through the lieutenant and the chief under the chain of command.
Yes, sir. I've been bringing all my stuff to Chief Bishop and
Right,
Lieutenant.
so they would have to be the ones that advance it, because otherwise there'd be a separate third entity such as yourself representing
Yeah,
decisions are made, and the process doesn't allow that process to happen.
yeah. I didn't know if a private citizen of Southwick could bring something like this forward as, hey, I know what you're looking at. Here's another option to go, even if I'm not even part.
And then that's the way, Carl, if I may,
Yeah.
that's the way that I was looking at it too. The conversation, Mike had come to the lieutenant and I today and the fire chief out of respect, just to say that he was, looking at these different things. I thought he was going to treat it like as a citizen, asking to get on the agenda where he could make a presentation to the board. I really don't know. I know he's got concerns on the police side, but the way he really wasn't making an official presentation to myself or lieutenant this morning. He was just, I guess, out of respect, wanted to make sure we understood that he wasn't going behind our backs and he wanted to be right up front with it. So whatever way you instruct him to go, it's fine with us, but I just want to make sure, either way, as a citizen, he can request to get it on the agenda, or if you want him to put it together and we'll just submit his paperwork.
Well, we'd have to speak to Labor Council. It's tough when you're a union official in one hat and you're a command officer in another, and then all of a sudden you want to have a third role. I'm not quite sure how that works. That doesn't reconcile.
So the other thing is, if you want it to come from the union, I can put it together, have them vote on it, and bring it up. That's one
Okay.
way we can go. This is just pretty much what I came up with. Is when this came out to us was late December. That, hey, we're looking at going to Westcom. Do you guys have any questions or concerns? Talk to people about it, and that's what I started doing. And then talking with different agencies, different dispatch agencies, the different people involved with Westcom on the police side, anyways. Everybody says it's great for fire, but on the police side, anyways, this is something that was recommended to me, and that's when I started looking into this.
Yeah.
I think you can just deal with Carl and Chief Bishop and figure something out to bring in front of us. Stay the hell out of the union with it. It's just going to aggravate shit even more. And I'm about done with all of that. So you really want to see something fail? Bring it through that way. Sorry.
It's all good.
Let me just say, I think that there's no bad ideas, right?
No. Nope.
So I think we want to hear it. And I understand Carl's perspective, right? I don't think you could possibly bring this forward as a private citizen because you're the union president and a sergeant in the police department, right?
Yeah.
So it would be tough to do that way. So you need to figure out the right way. If there's a good idea here, Mike, we definitely want to hear it, and it probably needs to be put to some other form. With the timing of it, such as it is,
Yes.
Right where we are in the process is right. We're just going to continue going down the path of looking at this, right? We've made no decision as far as what the ultimate decision around dispatch is going to be. And if there is a great third option, that the chiefs and everybody wants to explore and find out if it's the way to go, then that's great. We're trying to do what's right for the people of the town of Southwick. That's the most important thing.
Yeah,
So
and that's at it where
I get it. And so, I didn't have a lot of time to read over all the stuff that came in today. So I looked at it briefly, but, you know, I just, from the point of view of, I understand where Carl's coming from. But you have to understand that when people see you on here, that you're either Sergeant Westcott, Union President, right? Or, you know, one of those two. So I think it needs to figure out how you want to approach it. And there's plenty of time. We're going to go through this process here. There's still time to look at any other option that's available. Okay, fair enough?
Yeah. And I understand that, and I have no qualms about looking into all this much more. I'm happy it's going through where we can present stuff. It's just another option, and you guys get to weigh which one's better for the town.
Exactly.
Thank you for your time.
No problem. Okay, that being said, does anyone have the document from Attorney Coyle that wants to read and make that motion?
If there's reading involved, Mr. Fox said he would do it.
Or do you want me to read it and have someone make it?
There you go.
Okay,
Correct, because I don't have it right in front of me,
okay,
Mr. Chairman.
okay. I need someone to make the following motion. That they move that the select board submit a written statement on behalf of the select board expressing interest in joining Westcom to be signed by the chair of the select board and take any other action relative thereto.
Joe Didi will make that motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
There's a roll call vote. Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Okay. Then there was documentation further on for later on, if it comes to that, but that's all we needed to do. And again, this is just a exploratory motion at this point that we've approved to basically set a letter of interest to Westcom so that they can then go and start looking at grant documents and radios and so on and so forth.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. This is the fourth time that this has been done over the last 6 years, as Mr. Fox pointed out at a previous meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Fox, any update on green energy tonight?
Not really, Mr. Chairman. We're proceeding. The school is looking at it also. They're having discussions with the Commonwealth, and we'll proceed on and hopefully be holding some sort of public informational sessions before town meeting.
Great. Carl, we are still tracking to have our regularly scheduled elections and town meeting for May, correct?
Yes, yep. I'm not under the impression of us doing anything any different. I would imagine you're going to have your elections on the second Tuesday in May, pursuant to your bylaws, and you're going to have your town meeting the third Tuesday in May. And I would imagine that the moderator, Celeste, may want to hold that outdoors in the parking lots at the high school. I mean, by the middle of May, the weather's reasonably better.
One would hope.
So when we get into April, we'll be having those conversations with the moderator.
Very good. I just was making sure that last time we spoke last year was that there was no talk of moving those out or pushing them out. We're just going to go to the regular dates that we normally have them.
Right. Last year, you were at the onset of the pandemic and how to respond to it, as well as how to have all of the different regulations and the laws of holding public meetings, including the type of meeting you're having here, all had to be revamped through a series of updated regulations by the Commonwealth and its many different subsidiary agencies. So I don't see any reason why things are going to be different, but we'll have a better idea in April.
Fair enough.
And this is fine because you're going to be holding your budget hearings in March.
We are. We set the dates for those, correct?
Yes.
Something the 20th and 14 days before that. 6th?
The 6th.
Yep.
6th and 20th, 8:30 a.m. Town crier policy. Did you get a chance to send that out to everybody, Carl?
No, because I just sent it to you because I believe the board designated you or you volunteered for
Okay,
But we do have a draft. As you notice, I did a starting draft.
yes, thank you. I just
And I
didn't get a
was- I was-
chance to finish it. I will
I
get
was
that
just-
done.
I was just trying to understand the most important part, sir, is going to be the interval of time before the static signage changes from one screen to another.
I think just substantial compliance with the town bylaw will be adequate for what we're trying to do, but I'll come back to that next week.
Okay.
And then what were we left with on the sewer abatement policy to finish up?
Randy and I have begun the process, and we were going to meet after the 14th of February.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there any other old business in front of the board tonight that we need to go over?
Mr. Moglen, can I ask a question in regards to the sewer abatement policy?
Sure.
I know when we were on our last meeting, it was a long night, and you guys were going to kind of reconsider everything in regards to the policy, but also at that point I had requested you guys to reconsider and put another vote from the board in regards to the abatement request that I filed for last spring and summer's water bill. And my reasoning for that is because I've discussed it with all three of the board members, and everybody agrees there's an issue with the policy as it stands now. So I just wanted to see if with that, you guys would be able to reconsider that abatement that I filed.
Okay. I will put that on for discussion at a
Okay,
future
thank
meeting.
you.
Any other old business? Joe, Russ?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Carl?
No, I have items under new business, sir.
By all means, new business.
We have a communication from the Rotary Club, and they're asking to see if we're going to be, let's see, our renewal of your corporate membership with the Rotary Club. And I wanted to see if the board, if that's something that we need to renew, or if people's times have been taking us in another direction where we just haven't been able to make a good faith effort to be able to participate in that club as corporate members. I know I went to a couple of events in the last year. I know each one of us did, but I wasn't sure with what's going on now, whether this is something you want to continue.
Russell?
Well, we decided to do this as an outreach, to see what some of the discussions going on. And this was a civic organization that does a lot for our community. The pandemic and this Zoom thing has really put, this kind of out of reach for most of us, and the conflict with our meetings. Like Carl said, I think Carl attended a few, I attended a few, Doug, you attended a few. But it is difficult to attend on a regular basis. So I don't know if we want to give it one more shot. Hopefully the pandemic will ease up and we can start meeting in person maybe this summer. And it might be a good thing once people do start meeting in person again, to get in contact with people, see what they think is going on, and we can help inform them of what we're doing. So I don't have any problems if we want to try it for an additional year.
I don't really have any objection with doing it again. I think we need to make sure that we're clear with Rotary that, I think we should clear with Rotary, and also make sure that we have other department heads attend some of these meetings to get out there and introduce themselves and, be an asset to that organization, right? As far as being a resource available to them, and as part of the outreach, right? So that they get to know all the players in town hall, and police chiefs and fire chiefs and deputy chiefs and lieutenants and all that stuff too, right? Because I know it does become, from my own perspective, I mean, it was another night of the week that was is out and about for Rotary, and it gets to be quite a bit actually in the end. So I think we need to make sure that we're getting everyone involved in that organization at a little bit.
Yeah, not only that, but that sometimes the text threads amongst 15 or 20 members, everybody's cell phones. And when you're in the middle of emergencies, that's kind of tough to deal with that too.
They got that block this number thing. I figured that out now.
That's why maybe Joseph can spearhead that for us. So.
Oh, I'll take care of this whole damn mess. It's very simple. Go to the Selectmen's gift account for $150, send it in, say thank you and God bless. And then should you guys have time to actually make a meeting, you'll show up and you'll reach out ahead of time if meetings come back and pay for the dinner and do what you do. But you're right. The texting and all the craziness, all of us seem to either manage or run a business. And there's times that, yeah, you just don't have time for 27 texts about steak or seafood. It gets old, but they haven't been doing it because of the pandemic. So it's up to you. And you got the Lions Club too, right? And every other, maybe we should all join the Grange and meet there once a week and we can help shovel. There's plenty of groups that you guys can hit, not just the Rotary, but they're all good. So yeah, I mean, whatever. It ain't the money. It's just, do you guys have the commitment time? Because I don't, and that's why I didn't go this year. I don't have the time.
And I think that's what I think. I talked to them a little bit about this. I know I talked to Ellen and Mike, as far as the town itself being a corporate member, right? It's not Joe and Russ going every Wednesday, Joe, Russ and Doug and Carl every Wednesday night, to go to a dinner, right? It's more, we want to have some of the department heads involved and be involved with the Rotary as we can as a corporate member, not the same as, Doug Moglen signs up to be a Rotarian and, we're going to be there every Wednesday and do all the, all the stuff that's required. Like I said, we all have full-time jobs, plus this, plus the other committees and boards that we're on. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I agree with you, Joe. I have no problem with spending the 155 or 150 out of the gift account to support the Rotary as a corporate member, but
Okay. Well, I will take care of that, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
Unless there's a way to force other department heads to actually go to Zoom that week, which you guys, I get it. We're all busy and we can't, but that's what's lacking, right? If someone, and I don't want any of us to do it, but if there was a way that once a month someone else was able to go, or once a week, then the pressure's off you two guys and Carl, but it doesn't work that way. Everybody gets busy and next, it's another Wednesday, right?
All right. I have two more issues, Mr. Chairman.
We only got through one of them. Oh boy. All right.
The next one is the settlement agreement between the town and the clerical unit has been signed off by the clerical unit union rep. And of course, the board is a member to that agreement. So I would be requesting a motion for the chair to be authorized to sign that memorandum of agreement for the 3-year contract for fiscal year 21, 22, and 23.
Joe Didi will make that motion for the clerical union to have Doug Moglen sign it. And I appreciate them understanding we're in a pandemic and working with us.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Roll call vote. Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Okay, the next item, Mr. Chairman, is approval of invoice number 10 from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission for administering the Community Development Block Grant for federal fiscal year 19 in the amount of $4,968.42. And as you know, that relates to the Bungalow Street Engineering and Design Project, housing rehabilitation units for rehab and septic system replacements for an estimated 14 homes in the town of Southwick. 8 of them are going through the income qualifying process. And then as well as the administration of this program by the regional planning agency that acts as our community development department in the time of the receipt of a grant.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yes.
Joe Didi will make the motion.
Russ Fox will second that motion.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Anything else, Mr. Carl?
No, I mean, the other thing you should be mindful of, Mr. Chairman, is we are starting to get a bunch of nuisance storms of, in addition to the 12-inch one from last week, but we're starting to get these 3 to 4-inch nuisance storms. So that will have a dollar impact on our salt budget as well as our employee overtime for DPW having to address these things on evenings in off hours, as well as our contracted plows. So just be aware of that. That will be an accumulating deficit that we'll have to address, as we usually do, as an item at transfer at the special town meeting before the annual. And then don't forget, in addition to that, this year, you also have a deficit you ran in the forestry account because of the tropical storm Isaias on August 4th. So those other are operational issues that have liabilities that will have to be liquidated before the end of the fiscal year. And that's all I have.
Wow. So what the report from Randy, just so everyone has it. I don't know if everybody quite gets it all the time, but that snow on February 1st and 2nd was $60,000, right? No, that was the one before it. February 1st and 2nd was the one that was just this past week, the weekend before. This other one was grand total to date, $127,561. Wow.
Yeah, this one doesn't include the weekend one, so.
Correct. And include the one this past
It
weekend.
included the large one last Monday, which was.
Correct.
Well, we,
First and second.
our meeting, we had a foot of snow, actually 13 inches, so.
Correct. So total, here's the year-to-date totals. We've had 30 inches of snow so far. So, and more tomorrow and potentially more on Friday, they're saying, correct? So,
Yes.
great.
Yep, that's why I just wanted to let you know, we're in that weather pattern now, and, we'll be addressing that as an issue that we have to transfer the funds to cover that, which is permissible to run that deficit. And we also had Mass DOR permission to deficit spend the forestry account for the August 4th tropical storm.
Correct. Other new business, Mr. Steinhardt.
No, sir.
Mr. Didi.
Nope.
Mr. Fox.
I would like to discuss our meeting date schedule that came out today.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I noticed that March, there's 5 meeting days plus 2 Saturdays. And one of the meeting dates is the week of a national holiday.
Jesus.
And I would like to recommend to the board that the March 15th meeting of 2021 be canceled, sir.
No
In honor-
parade and no jogging marathon that day. Everything's canceled.
Everything's canceled. So
Everything's canceled.
in the spirit of that, we'll cancel the March 15th meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
see
Chairman.
I don't see any reason why we should
No, of course not.
meet that week.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Fox?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that clerical union deal done, and that's a 3-year deal. So we're moving right along with
Yep,
most of the union agreements to get those done.
I hope to have another one for you for signature at your next meeting, sir.
Fantastic. All right. So I think we're going to be going into executive session, correct, Carl?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh,
Stay with me, Joe. Motion to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, 2 and 3, Chapter 214, Section 1B, and CMR 2003 regarding police, DPW, clerks, dispatch unions, department heads, and non-union staff. Move to go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and not reconvene in open session. Move to go into executive session to conduct collective bargaining sessions with non-union personnel and not reconvene in open session. Move to go into executive session to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel and not reconvene in open session. And to move to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, and that the chair declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the body and not reconvene in open session. And move to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, and the chair declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the body and not reconvene in open session. I almost missed the last part. A person shall have a right against unreasonable, substantial, or serious interference with their privacy. The Superior Court shall have jurisdiction and equity to enforce such right, and in connection therewith to award damages. That's a roll call vote. Doug Moglen, aye.
Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.